Okay. The agenda for today is firstly a general description of the project and its goals. Then I will continue with an introduction of the partners. I will describe the expected results. We will cover in some more detail the intellectual output one, which has been finalized. And then the presentation will conclude with some demonstration videos concerning the platform itself, the technology that we use for hand and face tracking, and for sign language recognition and translation. And finally, the avatar. And then there will follow a question and answer session for about 15 minutes. And finally, you will have the opportunity to share with us your opinion on the project offline using an evaluation form. It will just take a couple of minutes to do so. And your comments are very, very welcome. So the project CATSL stands for Computer Assisted Teaching of Sign Language using computer vision and machine learning. It has a duration of 3 years. It started in September 2020 and goes until August 2023. We are almost at the middle of the project. It involves 5 partners from 4 different countries, 2 from Greece, 1 from the Netherlands, 1 from Portugal, and 1 from Cyprus. It is funded by the Erasmus Plus Action, and the funding agency is the Greek State Scholarship Foundation. So the situation with sign languages in the EU has as follows. There are around 750,000 native speakers of sign languages in the European Union. And at the same time, there are only approximately 12,000 interpreters. This gap, of course, undermines the communication among the deaf and the non-deaf. And on the other hand, it's quite hard to train people on understanding and on using sign languages. So the goal of the CATSL project is to contribute towards narrowing this gap. The vision of the project is to develop an e-learning platform and system in order to teach sign languages. Using this system, the student will be able to log in whenever he or she wants to study the selected courses on sign languages asynchronously. And the system will have the technology and the infrastructure to identify the student's motion using cameras and afterwards to provide feedback to the student. So the official objectives of the project are firstly to develop a system and service for interactive sign language teaching using techniques and algorithms from machine learning and computer vision. Then, after developing the technology to set up the related infrastructure in 4 higher education institutes, the partners of this project, plus one primary education institute. Then to develop the related curricula and the guides for teaching sign languages, and to develop two multilingual courses in Greek, in Portuguese, and in Dutch. And in this way to support the spreading of sign languages and therefore the social inclusion of the deaf. And of course, among our goals are to disseminate our results through the organization of workshops or events like the one that we are organizing right now. So which are the target groups, the end users of the proposed system? They will be, first of all, the students at special education university departments, whose goal is to learn sign languages in order to teach them later during their professional career. Of course, among the end users are the school pupils who aim to learn how to use the sign languages, and some of them may be deaf. And of course, we have the content creators, who are the university professors who teach the sign language courses in special education departments, or the educators in other public or private organizations who are involved in teaching of sign languages or deaf education in general. The basic systems of CAT-SL. The system will be based on the Moodle platform, which is an open source tool for e-learning. And we will develop some plugins to that Moodle platform. The first one will have to do with pose analysis. It will use the images and videos from a camera in order to analyze the pose of the student. Then we have the machine translation module, which will get the pose from the previous tool and extract the meaning, extract the signs, and do the translation from video to text. And there is an avatar. We employ avatar technology in order to demonstrate to the student what he or she has to sign. And this avatar is also used in order to provide feedback to the users on how well they performed. So a brief introduction of the partners. The coordinator is the University of Patras. I am the coordinator of the Patras team and the whole project. The University of Patras participates with two different labs. The first one is the Signal Processing and Communications Lab of the Computer Engineering and Informatics Department. We focus on hand and body tracking. And the second lab is the Deaf Studies Unit from the Department of Educational Sciences and Social Work. And their task is to do the courses for the Greek Sign Languages, for the Greek Sign Language and the sign languages in general. But the main focus is on Greek. Then we have the Cyprus University of Technology with the Department of Electrical Engineering, Computer Engineering, and Informatics, led by Associate Professor Sotiris Hadjis. They focus on machine learning for sign language understanding. This is the translation from video to text mainly. Our next partner is the Royal Dutch Kentalis with Kentalis Academy, headed by Dr. Ben Elsendoorn. They focus on user requirements, courses for the Dutch sign language, and courses for school pupils. The Hellenic Mediterranean University, led by Professor Giorgos Papadourakis. The participating lab is the Intelligent Systems and Computer Architecture Lab from the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. And their main task is the development of the educational platform and its adaptation to the project needs. And last but not least, the Polytechnic of Porto. The head of the team is Professor Paula Escudeiro. Their main tasks are the development of courses for the Portuguese Sign Language and the avatar design. So in the next part of my presentation, I will describe the outputs of the project. The first one is the analysis of sign language teaching methods and challenges for an automated teaching system. It is finalized and is available online on the project web page. But I will postpone the discussion for that, and I'll give a more detailed presentation. We will give you a more detailed presentation after I give you an overview of the other outputs, which are currently in progress. The second output is the system itself, which is a prototype system aiming to provide an e-learning environment to the student, to present the courses and the concepts in sign language using morphology, syntax, and semantics, and to prompt specific actions to the students for the execution of the signing using a specifically designed and customized avatar. The system will use the video from cameras, RGB color cameras, and depth cameras, alternatively, and it will use the video to recognize the signs and also to evaluate if those signs and phrases obey the morphological rules of the sign language using machine learning. And to be more specific, it will evaluate the hand shapes, the hand motion, the facial expressions, and the overall synchronization of those information channels. It will analyze the phrases for syntax and semantics, and will highlight the errors and provide feedback to the students using the avatar. As regards the required hardware, the requirements are to have a PC connected to a sensor, a camera, a color camera, or probably a depth camera. And the PC should also include a graphical processing unit. Or alternatively, the user could connect to the platform as a service, and the whole processing will be done on the cloud. The system will adopt open standards, and at the end of the project, it will become available to the research community for further development as open source, at least some significant parts of the system. The third output concerns the courses themselves. We will develop interactive material to cover at least 2 introductory sign language courses in 3 different languages: Dutch, Greek, and Portuguese. These are the partner countries. These courses will include the theoretical background and practical exercises, and will be adapted to provide feedback interactively by using the avatar, as mentioned already. And the last output of the project is the teacher's guides, in order to assist the tutors in using the system efficiently. It will comprise books and videos and instructive videos. Now I will invite Dr. Ben Elsendur to describe the results that we already have on the first output of the project. Ben, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dimitri. Well, the first output that we have is a document which in which we have written down the results of a study that we have done, where we analyze the requirements of the system and the teaching curricula that are presently available, which we take as a starting point for the development of the courseware that we will include in the prototype system. And this document is available on the CATSL website, so probably we will be able to provide a link to that, so you can look it up if you want to. One of the things that well, are probably not come as a surprise to many of you is that sign languages are, the different sign languages are, for the most part, unintelligible to other speakers or other signers who are not native signers of a particular language. I mean, there are some similarities, of course, but because of that, sign language users of different languages will have problems in communicating directly with one another. But looking closely at these sign languages, we find that based on the modality, the grammars of the different sign languages seem to be more similar than grammars of unrelated spoken languages. And one of the main similarities is that the hands form the manual features and the use of face and upper body that will compromise the non-manual features, which are a very important part, of course, of the different sign languages. Also, on the next slide, you can see that the use in all languages, we find that basic phonological features such as hand, location, and movement and orientation are essential features of the different morphs that you can that you find in sign languages. And also the space in front or next to the signer is used to construct sentences that are articulated. Also, specific moments of the hand attribute to the syntactic status of a subject or object, and sign languages are using a spatial morphological process for inflecting transitive verbs, so that you have an indication of singulars or plurals or past tense or future tense. So, in a sense, that will not really make the problem that we're facing for the prototype easy, but it's a nice starting point that, especially for avatar development, can be used. Well, in the next slide, you can see that there are even more similarities, and which, to a certain extent, are similar for the various sign languages across the world. But in this case, we have concentrated on the similarities between Portuguese and Greek and Dutch sign language. This is, well, since this meeting is recorded, you can, well, read it over again when you have this the link of this meeting. The aim of the course is of the courseware that we will develop as a prototype course in the system is for students to acquire some basic skills in sign language, which is, well, could be compared to the first or two basic sign language courses that are now given in a classroom situation. We aim for approximately 200 to 500 signs that should be learned or could be learned in these courses, and a student will acquire some tools to enlarge his or her knowledge of the lexicon and also the sign language skills that can be used to communicate with deaf people. And what we find usually in across the various courses that are being used at present, on the next slide, we will address 5 different themes in these courses. One is about persons and professions. How did you get here? About weather, traffic, and transport. Lexicon that can be used to describe typical activities during the day, like getting up, dressing, going to bed, having dinner. Also talking about clothing and colors, and also the final theme will be about celebrations and festive occasions, and about seasons that you will typically find throughout the year, like holidays, birthdays, Christmas time, and so on. The goals of these these courses will be that students will understand familiar signs that can be used on a very basic level when you want to communicate with a deaf person, or when you want to learn some sign language that that will make you able to well, start a conversation with a deaf person. Also, if you don't understand the deaf person that you are talking to, that you can indicate that you don't understand your communication partner and ask for a repetition or for an explanation. And if you're addressed as a hearing person by a deaf person, that you can answer questions that, well, relate to a direct need, or to some familiar topics, like offering some assistance or asking for assistance, like explaining the way to a certain, well, building or whatever. And it's sort of summarized in the next slide. It's about understanding numbers, and understand simple remarks and warnings, and also carry out given tasks, or explaining the given tasks in the right order. So you have, if you want to bake a cake, and it would be nice if you could explain to a deaf person that you are teaching in what order the ingredients should be well, put to succeed, that you have a good cake at the end of the task. And of course, greeting persons and simply say hello, goodbye, and what you do when you speak to somebody else that you meet in the street. The study load at present, we find the simple courseware that we are using now is about 5 weekly group lectures with a total of 35 hours, and some self-study for 4 to 6 online assignments, and in total 30 hours, and a total study load of 65 hours. But the main advantage of this system will be that students can address the system whenever they want, and practice whenever they want. And in present situations, the teaching of sign language usually happens in a classroom situation, and this will, if you're not in daily contact with deaf persons or fellow students, you will have a problem in practicing. And in this way, with this system, you will be able to practice and get feedback on what you are doing, and an indication of what you're doing right or wrong, and suggestions on how to improve your signing skills. The courses, the CAT-SL system will be part of the ECTS system that's used throughout Europe, and it's developed for students who want to become teachers in special education. And what's often happening now is that a teacher or a student of special education will not be taught any skills in sign language, and when he or she comes to work in a school where the population is deaf, or there are some deaf students, he will have a problem because he will need sign language skills, and it's a bit uneasy that you will have to learn sign language when you're already needed at the very first moment you have a deaf student in your class. It's will help, hopefully, to train people who are educating to become a sign language interpreter, so they can practice a little bit more, and any other profession that, well, can profit from skills in sign language. Non-university students will, of course, be given a certificate after successful completion of the course by the organization that gave the training. And it's important to keep in mind that organizations that educate students will be able to develop their own courseware for this system. So it's not that we are going to develop the courseware unless, well, we are requested to, but we will just demonstrate that different courses can be developed for this in this system. Right, this slide you can see where you can find the website of the project, and where you can find additional information. Dimitris, is this your part, or shall I continue?
Yes, thank you, Ben. We would also like to tell you that we are present also at the social media, but the web page cat-sl.eu would be the starting point in order to request for additional information about the project. You will find all the public deliverables and the progress of our work there. And having said that, at the end of this presentation, you will be asked to complete a feedback form in order to tell us a few things about what you think about the project, what you think should be included, what should not be included, and so on. It's an online form. You can find the link on the web page, and it won't take you more than 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, maybe it's if I may just add that it's important for the project that we will get feedback as much as we can from deaf native signers, because it's important that the results and the feedback that the system will give you will be the same sort of feedback and the same standard that native signers would give in person. And because if the feedback isn't up to their standards, then well, you might run the risk that it's not really the system that will help students learning the right sign language or the right features of the sign language. And I think we will come back throughout this project to deaf signers and to ask feedback as much as we can to help them improve the system. Although we have some sign language knowledge ourselves, but it's important that we will use as many features provided to us by deaf signers, of course.
Okay. Next in the agenda is the demonstration of some technological results we already have. The first one has to do with the platform itself, and it demonstrates how a teacher can add a quiz and how a student can give an answer to the quiz. It's based on the Moodle platform, and it looks like that. That was the teacher's part, and now the student's part. The student is instructed to say a phrase, to sign a phrase. So he uses the camera, records the answer, and sends to the system. And the next step for the system would be to evaluate this video and check for mistakes. Now, the next part has to do with pose tracking, the technology that we use for pose tracking. We will demonstrate separate results for the hands, the body, and the face, and the integrated results at the end of this video.
Pose tracking. Using existing technology, we can detect all the of the body. First case, detection of the head and arms. Second case, detection of the hands and fingers. We show one hand for clarity.
The system here was set up to track just a single hand, but it can be done with two hands, as you will see next.
Third case, detection of the face and its features. a sample of our dataset showing every detected landmark. Based on these detections, we plan to build a new technology that evaluates the performance of the student.
And the next part has to do with the translation. To this end, we will demonstrate some previous work done with German Sign Language, but the same techniques are going to be adapted for the sign languages of the project.
This is a brief demonstration of the sign language recognition and translation system. The user can submit a pre-recorded sign language video, and the model will present the recognized signs, including the confidence of each prediction. In the end, it will also suggest an estimated translation in a spoken language. For this example, we chose a video in German Sign Language, and the translation will be in German spoken language.
That was all about the translation, and the last part is about the avatar and how we can parameterize the avatar and customize it for the teaching sign language task.
So this is the virtual sign avatar. This is the virtual sign translator, so it works like regular translators, but instead of just inputting text and getting text as a result, you can input some text and get a gesture as a result. For example, if I write here good morning, which is bom dia in Portuguese, and press the play button, he will perform the gesture for Portuguese Sign Language for good morning. So all the gestures are created on this application, the Virtual Sign Studio online application. As you can see, you can move the avatar with the mouse. And for example, let's try to do the gesture we saw on the previous part of the video. So the good morning gesture, the bom dia gesture in Portuguese Sign Language. So the first thing to do is to put the hand on its initial position. Set the rotation of the hand and the hand configuration. And rotate the hand to its correct spot. So as soon as that is done, we have a list of moments the keyframes for each gesture. And we can create a new frame and move the hand to its second position. Select a new configuration, then add a new moment, and on the third one, move the hand, rotate it to its final position, and then we can just preview the movement, and you can see that we have a good morning in Portuguese Sign Language. So this is a quick demonstration of how we can do each gesture. On this application, it's also possible to move the body front or backwards or sideways. And also add some facial expressions, for example, eyes closed and inflated cheeks. So then, after the word is saved, we can just use the validator on special validator accounts from professionals. They can preview the word and they can validate it and save it on the database if it is correct. Here we have our avatar on a website, on a municipality website. So to translate the website, you just have to select the text, then press the play button, and he will translate the highlighted text immediately. This is just one of the examples of usage from the avatar.
Well, that concludes the technological demonstration. We have some time for questions. There are some questions on the chat, as I see. Of course, all the links to the project, to the website, and all the material will be sent to you, to your emails. And another question is that if the datasets will be made publicly available, yes, they will become publicly available. Okay, we're inviting also some other questions if you have. We would be happy to
We have
hear.
one question in Portuguese. Some people that are not hearing properly, if we can then share the recording of the session.
Yes, the recording will become available. We will give the link on the website, and the link will also be sent by email.
There are also in the chat some manifestations of interest from Portuguese participants. Maybe we can create a list of the emails of those who are interested in this so that we can keep them informed of the developments of the project.
Yes, you can contact us using the website. There is a contact form over there.
And also, if people fill in the questionnaire, they are asked to give their email address and also the email addresses of colleagues that might be interested.
We're open to answer
Ναι,
your
με
questions.
έκανε μεγάλη.
Yes.
Ωραία.
Sorry, can we be out of the share mode in order for me to have a better, bigger? Okay, thank you. All right, well, I have a question. I was wondering, I see the program, it looks very nice and all the developments, but it is until the end of 2023. I was wondering about the avatar. It should be more colorful. It should be, it should be at the way that the color of the interpreters are. I mean, usually interpreters have a basic color, one color, I mean. They use black clothes or dark, let's say, red and things like that. Not to be very colorful, in order to be more easier to use it from the deaf. And a second observation about the face, if it is possible to the color of the face to be more to the color of the natural skin, not white, because white does not make a strong contrast. These two observations from me. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. So regarding the coloring and the contrast, so the colors that we are using is to make sure that we have high contrast between the hand and the t-shirt of the signer, of the avatar. But this is something that we can change. So we can prepare according to the feedback that we get from you. That's why it is fundamental to have these sessions and to get your feedback, so that we know what we can improve in all the parts of the project, including, of course, the avatar. Thank you for the question.
And one more thing, you made the demonstration about the avatar facial expression. However, I didn't see it in motion. I didn't see it moving it. There were only closed eyes and cheeks pulled out, but this was a pose, not within a sign or within a sign phrase.
Well, the avatar is translating sign by sign. So we will give him a gloss, a sequence of signs, and the avatar in the database has one animation corresponding to each one of the signs. So the way it translates a text is, in the first stage, we will get the gloss from the text in a spoken language, and for each one of the signs, they are signs in sequence. But the avatar is not moving. This is something we have not worked out yet. The avatar is static, in a static position, and signing sign after sign of a specific sequence of a specific sequence of signs that corresponds to a certain phrase in spoken language.
Thank you.
You're working on the facial expression part, right?
Yes, that is true. That is one of the one of the issues that is always mentioned. We need richer facial expressions. There is already a big improvement that we could not see in the configuration in this demonstration, but that you can see already on the translator that we have that is translating some websites. So this avatar is already being used to translate websites here in Portugal, and in that case the facial expression is already richer than what we have seen in the configuration. However, we are working currently in high-dimensional hyper-reality avatars. This is some work that will not be available during this year. Maybe we hope to get already something ready in 2023 that we can still use in CAT-SCL in this project. But yes, we do not have a clear deadline that we can commit to for this type of avatar. But yes, that is one of the main improvements that we are investing now on the avatar.
It's a hard work. I wish you good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And I think that this is typically one of the issues that we would like to have constant feedback of native signers on, so that we can improve along the way and not develop things that in the end will turn out well substandard to native signers. And that's why we need your input during the project.
Okay, we have some time for another question, maybe. Okay, it seems that there are no other questions for the time being. Then I will conclude this meeting. Thank you all very, very much. I repeat what Ben said. It's important that you fill out the survey, the online survey. Feedback is very important for us. It was very nice to have you with us. And we'll keep you posted about all the developments of our project.